Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Apples and Ginos Fantasy Hockey Podcast, a podcast you come to when you're finally ready to take fantasy hockey seriously. My name is Nate Groot Niblink. I'm the creator of Apples and Ginos, originator of the Zergy draft strategy. And in this podcast, Blake and I are going to tell you how to win in week 11 of the fantasy season. Let's get it. And of course, I have your friend and my best friend. It's Blake Creamer. Blake, how are we feeling tonight?
I've been better, man. All right. I've had better days, hockey-related days. I've definitely had better hockey-related days. But in terms of life, my life is good. All right. It feels very good. But, man, I'm happy to see you. It's been a long time. We've been, passing ships in the night. It's not the same, I mean, the Discord's getting restless. So, like, where the hell is Nate? Get this buffoon off of my, out of my ear holes. All right. So I'm sorry about that, folks. Thank you for your patience. But we got the man, the myth, the legend, Nathan Groot Nibbling here to get the biz. How are you doing, my man? It's been a while.
I'm doing all right. I'm pretty exhausted. I put it in the Discord.
Just the energy we need here right off the bat.
Yeah. I've worked, I think I figured it out, 24 of the last 26 days I've been working. So it's been a minute since I took some time to rest, but I am excited to be back on the mic with you, my friend. I have thoughts that have been percolating. I have players that I want to talk about. And I think there's no better way to start this thing off than to talk about some Newsies. So, Blake, I'll kick it over to you. Let's have it.
Newsies. Yeah. All right. We got a little tidy piece of business here in the Newsies. Quinn Hughes of the Vancouver Canucks was traded to the Minnesota Wild for Z Bulliam, Marco Rossi, Liam Ogren, and a first-round pick. What the hell are we doing here? Why? I don't know. I'm excited to get into the fantasy implications for that because I think there are a few fantasy implications, some players getting better, some players getting worse, and yeah, maybe some short-term ads, but just the overall vibe of this trade, it doesn't feel good, like Canucks got a really, really nice haul. I think you have to acknowledge that, and it makes sense why the trade happened, but I don't know, when you zoom out a little bit, it's like, why are we even having this conversation? When you get a guy like Quinn Hughes fall into your lap in the draft, you move heaven and earth to make sure that you retain that player. And they knew about this for years, and just the way that this organization has kind of fumbled the bag over the last little bit here is really, really frustrating. So I don't know. I'm upset. I'm wearing my Canucks jersey here if you're over on YouTube for all my Canucks brothers and sisters. All right. But just, we got to stick together. All right. These are trying times, but we did get, some bits and pieces here. And I'm interested to hear your take on this trade. Just initial thoughts, Nate.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of these trades, it's never going to feel good when you're trading away the best player in the deal like this. There's no way around that. I totally agree with your take on the management there. Like, at some point, you lose Bo Horvat, you lose JT Miller, and you lose Quinn Hughes. Do you really think that this is all on the players at this point? There's something else in the water there for sure. So I fully agree with that. And yeah, Jim Rutherford creating a firestorm just totally out of the blue one day, just woke up and decided to create a national story just on his own about his best player. That's maybe the worst fumble in terms of a media interview that any general manager has ever done ever in any sport. Like, it's up there for sure. Somebody comment a better, like a worse example from any sport, and I'll gladly compare them, but that's way up there. So yeah, I fully agree with all that, but we do have some fantasy implications for sure. I think obviously Hughes had not been playing particularly well in terms of the fantasy numbers. Only I think I saw 1 point in his last 7 or something like that. So obviously, I think this should give him a little more life. He's going to a new spot. They already have superstars in place. They have Kaprizov. They have Boldy there. They have the makings of a really good team. They've been dying for somebody like Quinn Hughes on that back end for a while to kind of drive things from the defense. They have Brock Faber, who's a terrific shutdown defenseman, but he's not the offensive mind. I mean, nobody is, but he's not this kind of offensive minded defenseman that Quinn Hughes is. And so that should immediately have a huge effect on their ability to generate offense at even strength. We've talked at length about the difference. It's been all over the media as soon as everybody knew that this Quinn Hughes trade was almost certainly going to happen at some point this year. Everybody's been talking about the difference between Vancouver's numbers when he's on and off the ice.
Yeah.
Quinn Hughes is totally capable of that, and he's going to add to that 5v5 offense that has really been struggling at times in Minnesota. I'm excited about that. I'm excited about his boost to that power play as well, which I think can be much, much better and will almost inevitably be much, much better with Hughes there. So we can start there. What's your expectation for Hughes in the new situation? Do you think it'll take him some time to get warmed up, or is he just going to be lights out from the moment he steps on the ice?
I mean, it's always going to take time, but it's not going to be systems related. It's just going to be getting used to the players that you're playing with. But I mean, I think Minnesota plays kind of a similar style to Vancouver. I mean, that's obviously they have better players, and they're a much better offensive team, but it's kind of like get in zone and setting up in zone. It's not a rush team. So I think Quinn Hughes is not going to have any problems there, but he is that good. He's going to be able to step in and just use his instincts and be making tape to tape passes to guys like Kaprizov and Boldy instead of, Atu Ratu, and the Vancouver Canucks. Like it's unbelievable. This is an amazing thing for Quinn Hughes. Plus, he's not going to have to play 29 minutes a night. I think they'll be able to back that down. We'll have maybe like a 25-minute Quinn Hughes. Plus, Brock Faber, to have him, like, I don't know who they're going to pair him with, but I
It's
just
gonna
think,
be Faber.
yeah.
Like I
So
feel
that
like,
pairing, like that's one of the best pairings in the entire NHL, in my opinion. Like
yep.
it's Brock Faber is not an offensive defenseman, but he's kind of been put in a situation to try and do that because they don't have the talent there. Well, now he can be the guy, the anchor, and Quinn Hughes can go to work, right? Because Quinn Hughes had to do everything here in Vancouver. So I just feel like Quinn Hughes he was in an 80 to 90 point pace with this team here over in Vancouver. So now you bring him over to Minnesota. I think 90 points pace rest of season is probably assured if he's healthy. So I'm really excited for Quinn Hughes. I think it's a great move for him. And that Minnesota power play, that's what I'm really excited about. And pretty much every member on that power play, I think that gets a huge boost. Right now, Minnesota, they had a great power play to start the year, but right now they're 15th in power play percentage. So to me, that's going to go to a top 10 power play pretty damn quick. I think, right? Quinn Hughes is unbelievable. He has the Canucks as like a top 10 expected goals power play. The Canucks. So now, like the players that he's going to play with, I think that power play is really going to be elite, and it really boosts this team just in general. But talk to me about some of the pieces gone the other way. Zeev Buium, Marco Rossi. What do you think? Even Liam Ogrim. Like, what do you think they're going to do for fantasy over with Vancouver?
Yeah, I think it's going to be probably a better situation for them deployment wise, for sure. The Canucks with this trade, I think, have probably given up on their playoff aspirations for this year, and
What
probably
one? No.
correctly so. I think that's, yeah, it's a better place for them to work from, but that means probably they're going to want to see what they got in these guys, right? And Bouillon
Hope so.
was probably never going to get that opportunity really in Minnesota when they have a lot of good defensemen in Minnesota, and so he was really going to have to displace other guys on that defense for him to maintain over the course of a rookie season some really good numbers. He didn't have really good numbers there in terms of driving play or anything there, but you can see the makeup, you can see the way he skates. He's pretty thin still, like just visually, he looks like he is just a little bit too easy to knock off the puck. So I think he's got some growing up to do for sure, but it wouldn't surprise me if he just gets like 20-minute a night treatment as soon as he gets there, and they just keep him. I don't think they're gonna run him 25 minutes a night or anything crazy like that. But I would be pretty shocked if they don't give him at least second pair kind of minutes and at least try him out on the top power play. I, yeah, like what are you proving by putting Filip Hronek on the top power play in a lost season? You got to let Buyum get up there, hopefully get him some points, hopefully get him pointed in the right direction, and have him feeling good about starting a career in Vancouver. So I'd be pretty shocked if Buyum doesn't get. I mean, they could go back and forth a little bit, but at least the vast majority of the power play one time from here on out there in Vancouver. Rossi, I think it could be a better spot. There was obviously some contention there in Minnesota in the offseason about what he believed he should be paid and what the Wild were willing to pay him. And so for him to get a fresh start is probably a good thing. And I think there's still some untapped stuff here with Rossi. It
Yep.
seems like he's getting better year after year in the league. And so I'm actually pretty excited about what that could mean for some of the Canucks wingers. You get Connor Garland, maybe a little bit more fantasy relevant. You get Jake DeBrusk, maybe a little bit more fantasy relevant. You still got to find some chemistry with some of these players, but I could see him fitting with a number of those guys. I could see him fitting with an Evander Kane pretty well as well. So, yeah, I just think that that's probably a pretty good fit overall. I don't know that it's going to like turn him into a big time fantasy asset, but I can see it working out in a best case scenario for Marco Rossi. It sounds like he's almost back from his injury. He was maybe going to play this weekend, so it sounds like he'll probably get going pretty soon there in Vancouver. Liam Ogren, I don't think is really going to be too much there. He is a former first round pick, but hasn't really found his footing yet. Maybe he will in Vancouver, but I wouldn't be too excited to run out and grab him, even on a team like the Canucks, where you think you might get a little more play.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. I do think that this is going to be a boost for Buyum for sure. I'm not. I think he'll get the 20+ minute treatment. I also do think though that Hronek is going to take the majority of the power play. So I might switch kind of what your thought was there. I think Hronek is going to get the share of power play one there because the Canucks just can't help themselves, right? But one thing about Buyum, Minnesota compared to Vancouver, Minnesota was a contending team when Buyum was there. Canucks are not. So that's a huge difference, right? And Adam
Yep.
Foote is a really good coach, I think, for young players. I think he's kind of like a Martin St. Louis. Like this is a guy, I wouldn't be surprised if he does give Buyum the 20+ minute treatment, does get him out there for some power play time, no problem. So I think it's going to be a boost for Buyum. I think it's going to be a boost for Hronek. It's going to be a negative for the Canucks power play for sure. Going to be a boost for Rossi. And then, on the Minnesota side, I really like Tarasenko as a short-term ad. What do you think about that? Because he's obviously taking power play one over Matt Zuccarello at the moment while he's out.
Yeah, it could be. I think we've seen this in a few different spots though, where like, yeah, he's on the top power play, but could you actually see him at any point? Is he actually going to ever touch the puck, or is he just going to go stand in front of the net and,
Just
you
high-fiving
know,
everybody.
yeah, once in every 10 games, he actually gets a rebound that doesn't bounce out past him and he actually does bang it in. So
Giggity.
I'm willing to give it a shot. Like I'll give anything a shot for a bit, but I wouldn't be surprised if Tarasenko is just streamer level even with power play one.
There you go. All right. Well, I mean, we'll probably end up talking about this a little bit later too, but again, I do think this is going to be a net positive for Quinn Hughes and pretty much every player involved, even Liam Ogren. I think that he's going to be a middle six option here in Vancouver, and I believe that is a player that could have some maybe interest in dynasty, right? Still, you probably have him because he was a high draft pick. I think that he's going to get a better look here. They were kind of trying to mold him into sort of a grinder situation there in Minnesota. Again, contending team, but here if he plays in the middle six in Vancouver, he does have some offensive skill. He does have some creativity, and it's not a nothing pick. It's not a throw in, right? That's a guy that I think could do something, but time will tell. Let's move on. Dear God, I'm sorry about this. All right, and in the consolation trade, section here, Stuart Skinner was traded for Tristan Jarry, who I saw on Twitter was dubbed Skinner East. So they got rid of Stuart Skinner and got Skinner East from Pittsburgh here. And this is the last little bit of big time analysis we'll do. We'll just run through the news after this, but where are you at with Stuart Skinner and Tristan Jarry moving forward? Like, does this change your valuation of either of those goalies? Because to me, obviously Edmonton is a better offensive team. Defensively, they're pretty stinky, which is clear, right? Does that mean that maybe it's a better situation for Stuart Skinner to go to Pittsburgh there?
I think it could be actually net positive for both. I think that's possible. I think a lot of Skinner's struggles were a bit between the ears at times there. And obviously, the microscope was huge in Edmonton, team with Stanley Cup aspirations. He can go to Pittsburgh, and, they don't have the same kind of aspirations there for this season, I don't think. And maybe he can fly a little bit more under the radar and just, kind of settle into a new reality there. And it could be pretty good for him. Tristan Jarry, I was listening to the PDO cast with Kevin Woodley on it there recently, and Woodley was pretty into Jarry.
Yep.
This was before the trade happened, obviously, but he was pretty into Jari. Said he's made some real changes to his game. After he came back from that AHL stint last year, he was much, much better. And he thinks that this is a different guy, basically, than we had seen go through all those struggles, get himself demoted to the AHL. That being said, he is going to instantly step into a spot where everybody's going to be
Yeah.
looking at him like, okay, you got to do it. Like, you got to be the guy here. And that is a tough spot to put any player in. I mean, he's had some experience in some high pressure situations in Pittsburgh. So it's not like he's never been, the guy in a playoff run or anything like that. But yeah, it's definitely a big ask. It's one of the biggest asks for any netminder to play there in Edmonton right now. So I think overall, you're probably excited about Tristan Jarry. I have Tristan Jarry in a couple spots, and I'm
Yeah,
pretty
me too.
excited because I think the upside is obviously much better here. And really, I'm just chasing upside with goalies anyway. That's really all I'm ever after. So yeah, I'm into that. I just want to see what it's going to be because you can definitely tell yourself either story that it goes really well or it goes really poorly.
Yep. I think either way, both goalies should be rostered in the short term to see what you have here.
Yep.
I like that. All right, let's move on. We're going to fly through the rest here, but there is lots of news. We got Andre Vasilevsky is probably going to miss Saturday's game here with the injury he's been dealing with, but he was skating Friday ahead of the Lightning practice. So fire up Johansson for another start. Lightning are rolling. I think that's a good goalie target for you for that game if he does get the start. Over to New York, the Rangers, they're still rolling the 5-forward power play, but it's a little bit different here. They've got Alexis Lafreniere instead of Will Cooley as the fifth forward out there. So something to, put in the back of your mind here because we're going to be talking about the New York Rangers for this upcoming week here in week 11. 5 games, folks. So Laff is going to be in play for sure, and he's getting power play 1. So check that out. Over to Seattle, Jared McCann's now out for 3 weeks with the lower body injury. Buddy, we need you on the ice to get those goals, my man. Can you do your best? Get in the hyperbaric chamber. All right. I remember back in the day, Pavel Bure was injured, and there was reports he was out at Vancouver General Hospital, like in the hyperbaric chamber, like trying to get all. I was like, wow, man, this guy's living in the future. I don't know. They got to get McCann in that hyperbaric chamber. Back to the Lightning here. Victor Hedman, he's having elbow surgery, and he's going to return early February. That show ain't no good, but it means the Darren Radish mega stream just became a season-long hold. Congratulations to those of you who partake. I have Darren Radish in one spot. Did you get him anywhere?
Yeah, but unfortunately, that's a spot where I had Hedman, so it was kind of just a one in, one out.
Yep, a one in, one out. The old one in, one out. You know what I'm talking about, Nate. All right. Let's talk about Ricard Raquel. He was on a strange erotic journey from Milan to Minsk. He's returned and also from injury, and he's declared himself playing this weekend. There's nothing been official reported yet with Ricard Raquel, but it sounds like he's going to be good to go this weekend, so get him back in your lineups. Timo Meier of the New Jersey Devils, he's going to be away from the team for personal reasons. There's not a lot of word on what's happening there or when he might return. So, yeah, all the best to him. Hopefully everything's all good there with him and his family. We need to get him back in our lineups here as soon as his life is good and healthy. Okay. Also, Arseny Griciak is out for both games this weekend as well, so that kind of stinks for the Devils. They're on life support right now. But, hey, Jesper Bratt scored a goal. Nate, did you see this? He scored.
It's unbelievable.
We feel good about that. All right. Thank you, Jesper Bratt, for your service. Jack Hughes, what the hell? What was he doing? What was he doing to his finger? I mean, and seriously, can you not just wrap it up? Like, can't you wrap your finger up and just get your biscuits out on the ice? I mean, it doesn't affect your skating. You know what I mean? Just get your stick on the ice, my man. Anyways, shout out to the New Jersey Devils. Anyways, Joseph Wall, Toronto Maple Leafs. He's close to return, but he's not playing Saturday. So you got the Hilda Beast. He's your Huckleberry. Sticking with the Leafs, OEL left to the last game there. It looked like he was in pretty serious pain, but it doesn't sound like the injury is as bad as initially thought. So he's going to skate on Saturday, has a chance to play. So check your lineups there. He's been, reasonable out there. Bo Horvat with the New York Islanders. He's out week to week now, 1 to 3 weeks. Very specific timeline. Thank you, Patrick Waugh, for the information. Over to Buffalo, we got Alex Tuck and Josh Norris missing games with illness and some BS shenanigans from the freaking Sabres PR team. Like, the game started, and then you're telling us 10 minutes in that Josh Norris isn't going to play. What the hell is going on here? They don't give a damn about our fantasy teams, Nathan. And I'm not going to stand for it. I wrote a very strongly worded email. I sent it off. I pressed send. I'm waiting for the reply. I'll let you all know how that goes. Okay. I'm going to get to the bottom of this, but what the hell, man? Anyways, that stinks because I have them in a lot of spots, and yeah, it's made my matchups a little bit difficult, but that's fine. Get well soon, boys. Logan Cooley of the Utah Mammoth, he's out for 2 months now with that lower body injury. So yeah, that's really tough because I think, obviously we saw the 4-goal game. That was amazing, but yeah, I think he's a big cog in that wheel of offense over there in the Utah Mammoth. And yeah, it's going to be interesting times. Obviously, I think Barrett Hayton gets a boost because he was getting demoted down to the 3rd, 4th line at times. And I think JJ Peterka's value is really going to hold. He's going to be power play 1, line 1 until further notice. So get John Jason in your life. All right. And then we got to talk about Connor Bedard at the end of this game here on Friday against St. Louis. Last face-off of the game, he takes a cross-check from Braden Shen right off the face-off and goes down in a heap, holding his shoulder. It looked bad. It was kind of hanging weird, and he just rushed right off the ice. So he's definitely not playing on Saturday. And yeah, we'll have to see. We'll have to wait to see what's going on with Connor Bedard. But that would be really, really rough news because he's just having an amazing season there. So yeah, I think that's it for the Newsies. Did I have one more? Yeah. Lucas Dostal of the Anaheim Ducks was activated off IR. So the Ville Husso stream, get him the hell out of your sight. Yeah, he was doing yeoman's work there. A ton of starts with Dostal on the shelf, but Dostal's coming back. Hopefully he starts next game. Jonathan Drouin is returning on Saturday. Nobody cares. Adam Fox is skating as well. That's one of the greatest news updates we've ever received. Nathan, we got to attack that schedule, son. Let's get the biz.
All right, let's attack that schedule. On Monday, we have 5 games. On Tuesday, we have 10 games. On Wednesday, we have 5 games. On Thursday, we have 10 games. On Friday, we have 5 games. On Saturday, we have 13 games. And on Sunday, we have 9 games. This has been like a pattern where they've done this like 5-10, 5-10, 5 thing like a lot this year. I've noticed it. I don't know if that's intentional or just a huge quirk in the schedule, but it's actually quite interesting to me and probably me alone. 57 total games played. That's a heavy week for fantasy purposes. There are no teams with a Sunday, Monday back-to-back, but there are 2 teams with a Monday, Tuesday back-to-back to open the week. Those teams are Anaheim and the New York Rangers. There are 4 teams with Monday, Wednesday off nights. That's Florida, Nashville, St. Louis, Winnipeg. 5 teams with Wednesday, Friday off nights, Carolina, Florida, New Jersey, Utah, and Winnipeg. And 5 teams with Friday, Sunday off nights. Obviously, the Sunday's not actually an off night with 9 games there, but more than likely you're still fitting somebody in there. So the 5 teams are Colorado, Dallas, New Jersey, Utah, and Winnipeg. So it's going to be actually, again, a pretty good week for streaming. The biggest note, try to avoid that super heavy Saturday with the 13 games. And other than that, you can probably fit people in on a lot of these nights. Check your lineups, set your lineup for the week, see where you've got open spots, and you're probably going to have options this week in terms of who you can add. Figure it out, get them in there. There are a few teams that have some pretty nice week-long schedules. You got the Rangers that have 5 games, only 1 off night, but still probably getting them in for a bunch of those nights that are only 10 games or 9 games. So probably worth checking out the Rangers. Then you got Winnipeg and Florida, who are both 4 games played with 3 off nights. And the Winnipeg Jets actually play on that Sunday, which is the 9 game heavy. So that's their one quote unquote heavy night. You can probably get people in there. Florida's fourth game does come on the Saturday, so it's a little bit harder to get them in. But that means you also get the Monday, Wednesday, Friday to start the week. So really good start to the week stream with Florida. Anything I missed there, Blake?
No, I think you got it, man. It's a lot of games. It's a heavy week, but it is spread out kind of nicely. Like I think you can get players in on 10-game nights. So yeah, very important. Set your lineup, see where those gaps are, and fill them. Giggity.
All right. Why don't you lower some expectations for us?
I just did. All right, and that's fine. But let's lower expectations for fantasy hockey. Okay. Here we go. We got because of this busy week, there's no 2-game teams. So we have 7 games that play 3 games all on the busy nights. So Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, right? And those teams are Buffalo, Calgary, Chicago, Columbus, Philadelphia, San Jose, and Seattle. So again, we want to find out where is that drop line? Where's that cutoff line for value of players that are going to make your roster and players that aren't going to make your roster? So let's start in Buffalo here. And I am really interested to hear your take specifically on Josh Norris. I mean, we got Josh Norris, we got Josh Doan, both power play one when they're healthy. You got Matthias Samuelsson, who's a kind of a banger option, Bo Byram, Zach Benson. I mean, we know what they do. I think they're pretty easy drops, those 3, but Josh Norris and Josh Doan, what are you doing with those players? Are they making your roster?
Yeah, I think Norris you want to hang on to. Obviously, he was doing a lot of stuff when he was healthy there, and then caught this illness, and unfortunate that he's off the lineup again, and out of your fantasy lineup as well. Josh Stone is hot right now. That's going to be a tough one to get away from. He's got 5 points in the last 5 games, 7th amongst all players in individual expected goals for per 60, 14th in on ice expected goals for per 60. Only 16 minutes a night, which is kind of the only quote unquote negative with Josh Stone at the moment, but I don't see how you can drop him the way he's been performing.
Do you think Josh Doan, like when Norris comes back and now Tuck, like Josh Doan did get some of those points when they were out. Do you think because his time on ice is not great, do you think he's able to kind of maintain that with those guys back in the lineup? Because he'll still be power play 1.
Yeah, he's been power play 1. He's been playing with Tage Thompson, and I don't really think, like, Tuck has been power play 2 for a while now. It's been Doan on the top power play even when both of them were healthy, so I'm expecting that to be the case moving forward. If that changes, then obviously we'll reevaluate.
I love it. All right, let's move on to the Flames. Let's fan those flames of fantasy goodness, folks. We got Blake the Snake Coleman out here, Jonathan Huberdeau, Matt Coronado. Huberdeau, Coronado on the top power play there, I believe, and Blake Coleman, just a safe floor option. Who is making your roster and who's not?
Yeah, this one is a little bit harder just because Calgary is such a tough team to really get into. I do like Matt Coronado still. Huberto has kind of disappeared once again. Coleman is more like a bangers league kind of stream, especially cats, because he shoots a bit, he hits, he does all that kind of stuff. So he's a bit more relevant in a bangers cats kind of setup. I think I'm trying to hang on to Coronado if I can. I would drop him if I had to, but I do still like Coronado a lot. The underlying numbers love Coronado. The other 2, I feel pretty comfortable letting go.
Yep, I'm with you there. I'm not interested in Calgary really at all. I mean, they've got the 30th, power play in the league in terms of percentage and 27th in goals for at 5-on-5. That show ain't no good. All right. So I don't think you need a hole on your Flames there. Move over to Chicago. We got Bertuzzi. This is going to be interesting because I like a lot of these players, but without Bedard, if he's out for a little while, are we interested in guys like Tyler Bertuzzi, Frank Nazar, Lev Shinov, Burakovsky? I think is a guy that really does need Bedard to be relevant for fantasy. You got Toivo Teravainen, who's been cold as of late. What are you doing with your Blackhawks?
Yeah, the only guy I'd really give some leash here to is probably, well, I guess Bertuzzi and Lev Shunov. Lev Shunov just playing defense, which is a hard position to fill. If you need a 4th defenseman, then probably you're gonna just take the shot on the guy who's actually getting power play 1, even without Bedard there. But Bertuzzi's the only one who's been performing at a level that I feel like you have to hang on to at this time and just see if he's able to maintain some of that without Bedard around. Obviously, it's a net negative for everybody involved. There's no 2 ways about that. Nazar obviously doesn't play with Bedard at even strength, so it might affect him a little bit less. So I guess in deeper leagues, you could think about hanging on to him. Teravainen and Burakovsky, I think, are both clear drops.
Bounce him. All right. I do like Frank Nazar though. I think without Bedard, I don't know if it's going to be a positive, but he's going to get more of the offensive minutes, and that could be a positive if he gets going efficiency wise. Okay. All right. Columbus Blue Jackets. We're looking at Adam Fantilli, Dmitry Voronkov, Sean Monahan, Boone Jenner's back. He had a goal and an assist. What a freaking unit. Oh my God. Imagine Boone Jenner, like just 20 minutes a night, whole season. I mean, how many points would he have? Like 140?
Oh, that's pretty conservative, I'd say.
You bet your sweet baby, buddy. All right. Talk to me about the Blue Jackets. I mean, we got some power play one options here. I think we're trying to hold on to Fantilli. If Voronkov, Monahan, and Jenner are the real bubble players, I think.
Yeah, they changed up the lines in practice today as well. Jenner, Fantilli, Marchenko was the top line, so that obviously makes Jenner even more attractive. Ronkov,
Is that
Monahan,
possible?
not physically, but
I
for
know. Yeah, that's
fantasy,
what I'm
yeah.
saying.
Voronkov, Monahan, Lundestrom was the second line there. So, yeah, just shaking things up a little bit. Fantilli, I don't think you can drop while he's playing line one, power play one. That's not something I'm entertaining, really. Voronkov, I'm still trying to hang on to him. He's been pretty good on the whole. He's one of those guys who, like, when he's quiet, it feels bad to hang on to him, but when he's going, it feels really good. So, trying to hang on there. Monahan, probably in the same bucket as Voronkov overall. You might want to try to hang on to him, but if he's on the line too, then it's going to be tougher for him to produce. And then Jenner, as long as he's on that top line, I'm interested, but it's definitely a spot where if the deployment changes, then I'm getting less and less interested in hanging on to Boo Jenner through a tough week.
Yep. Periffs for days with Jenner and a beautiful jawline. Let's move over to Philadelphia. And it's so weird to me that we're always talking about Matvei Michkov on this section here because we just had such high hopes for this player. I mean, I think you and I were both like ceiling 90 points. Ceiling. We're like, yeah, that's in the wheelhouse. And obviously that has not materialized. This guy's on a 45-point pace. Dear God. But yeah, I mean, Michkov, we got Owen Tippett, just the Tippett, and we got Travis Sanheim. And then I think anyone under that is definitely a drop, right? But Michkov, Tippett, Sanheim, who are you dropping?
I think you can drop all of them. Michkov's under 15 minutes per night over the last 5 games with just a couple of assists. His underlying numbers like 123rd shots per 60, 90th in on ice expected goals for per 60. They aren't bad numbers. You're just multiplying them by so few minutes that it really doesn't matter. And yeah, I think it's pretty clear that he's not a Tocchet favorite at this point in time, and I don't see that changing anytime soon, so I'd be comfortable to drop him. Tippett is a guy who will go very hot and very cold. At the moment, he's not all that hot, just 2 points in his last 5 games here, still getting 16 minutes a night, which is all right. He's ranked 69th in individual expected goals for per 60, so that's pretty nice, but other than that, there's not too much to attract me to Owen Tippett. I think he can bounce him. Travis Sanheim has 4 points in his last 5, all assists. He's getting 24 minutes a night. The underlying numbers are pretty good with Sanheim, 23rd in on ice expected goals for per 60, and be getting some power play time there. So you don't have to drop Sanheim, but definitely if there's an option on your waiver wire that has you feeling a little bit better about going that route, I wouldn't. Sanheim is not a guy who's going to change your fantasy season. So if you feel there's a better option, you can go do that.
Yep. Agree there. Let's talk about San Jose. We got Tyler Toffoli, we got William Eklund, and we got Dmitry Orlov, all players that are definitely on the bubble. Toffoli, like ice cold as of late, and the ice time's not good. So I don't know, that's kind of an easy one for me. I don't know about you, but Eklund and Orlov, what's your pleasure, sir?
Yeah, Toffoli is nice when he's playing with Will Smith and Macklin Celebrini, but they haven't been doing that as much lately. It's been Colin Graff getting on that line, and Toffoli's been playing with Wenberg and Eklund, and obviously the
Weinberg.
results are not nearly as good there. So yeah, you can drop Tyler Toffoli, 0 points in his last 5, under 15 minutes a night. The underlying numbers have dipped as well. I still like William Eklund, over 18 and a half minutes average time on ice. He's only got a couple assists in his last 5. The underlying numbers are not great, but they're not bad either. So I think you can hang on to Eklund if you have other options to drop and use your streamer spots efficiently. If you don't, if you're in a little bit shallower of a league, then I think you can let Eklund go. and find your better streamer for the week. Orlov is down a little bit in the ice time to the 20-minute range, where previously he'd been up in the 23, 24-minute range, and his underlying numbers are nothing to write home about. You can definitely drop Orlov.
There you go. He's on and off power play one as well. I think Klingberg was the guy last game. So, yeah, I'm not interested there. I had an awesome talk with Louis Boulet in the last episode there I did about Will Smith. He got me jacked up on the guy. Oh, man. And I know Will Smith's a guy that you're really high on as well. So, yeah, I don't know if you got some Will Smith in your life. Congratulations. All right, let's move on to last team, Seattle, the stream team. Jared McCann, he's going to be injured. So hopefully you can fit him into an IR spot. If you can't, I mean, I don't think it's worth holding. You can't take zeros with a guy like Jared McCann because the ceiling isn't that good. But what about Jordan Eberle and maybe Eeli Tolvanen in banger leagues? I know Tolvanen has been doing stuff out there peripherally and, potting the odd point here. What's your take on those players there?
You can drop them all.
Drop them like it's lukewarm. We don't care. All right, get them the hell out of my sight. All right, what have you done for me lately, Jordan Eberle? All right, you only won you a head-to-head streamer deathmatch on a Tuesday. All right, but that's fine. You don't care. But that's it. That's it for lowered expectations. Let's move over to a section we call Crossing the Streams of Brotherhood. Yes, we do that here at Apples and Ginos. You know this. Don't worry, Nate. I'll keep it short for real this time. Okay. With Christmas coming up, I was agonizing over what to get Nathaniel here, the man who has everything, right? I mean, Nate, he's a pretty eclectic guy, right? He's got, a diamond encrusted chalice, kind of like, Snoop Dogg's Pimp Cup. Nate has a couple of those, right? He's got every season of Star Trek: The Next Generation on DVD, right? And he also has a robust collection of Labubu plush toys. So, he's tying my hands in a lot of ways. It's unbelievable. So anyways, I was stressed out about this, but I feel like, Nate, I found the perfect thing for you. I ordered it right away, but I can't wait until Christmas to tell you about this. Do you mind if I just tell you kind of what I got you? It's in the mail, but,
All right, let's have it.
Okay, thank you, Nathan. All right, so I found this specialty. It's like a porcelain shop online, and they happen to do custom pieces. And I figured when in Rome, right, do as Romans do. Okay, I've said that joke before, and I'll do it again. So, Nate, I ordered you a custom Apples and Ginos urinal, and it arrives on Christmas Day around 7 a.m. Eastern time. So hopefully you're not busy doing anything during that time because they have a team of about 5 guys that come over for the install. So, yeah, that's happening. So I got to tell you all about this customization on this thing, though, buddy. It's amazing. First thing, I got it tinted green. So it's green porcelain like a Granny Smith apple, right? Nice touch there. I also got heat sensing paint added to the inside. So when the warmth of the stream touches the back of the urinal, it starts to change color. You know what I mean? Like, and kind of like a hypercolor shirt from the early 90s. You know what I'm talking about, Nate?
No, I was born in the early 90s.
God dang. Did anybody out there have a hypercolor t-shirt? Hit me up in the comments, okay? Because I had one. All right. And yeah, it was good times. Anyways. Yeah, you get the color changing. Also, one of the major upgrades I got, and this wasn't cheap, Nate, so I hope you remember this. It's called the dripless shaker. Okay. Yeah, it's really neat. So basically, it's a mechanism inside the urinal. Oh my God. That assists with the post-stream shaking and the subsequent cleanup afterwards. So, and that's fully automated, Nathan. So you might not even need to wash your hands afterwards. This is amazing stuff. So what a luxury for you. I also threw in a custom bidet just for your regular toilet because I know you like to stay, very clean. I'm not going to dive in on that. And last but not least, there's a golden apple shaped target right at the drain. Okay. So when you're crossing the streams with friends, you know exactly where to aim. Okay. And one thing I didn't get was a second dripless shaker. So when I come over, I brought my own, right? Because I wanted to try it out first. And I've used it many, many, many times so far. And I can tell you the quality, Nathan, is tip top. So I'm stoked to get you that. The final touch, I will say this, is a golden plaque right at the top. It says urinal, no, urinal. Okay. Crossed in trust, sealed in porcelain, remembered forever. Buddy, what do you think? Are you stoked about this?
I can't say I've ever had my own personal urinal, and I've definitely never had a shaking mechanism. So, yeah, that'll be
Yeah, you can customize the hand too. It's weird. I don't know. That's
It's a hand.
yeah, it's a hand. I mean, it's
I
got
was
to be.
thinking, oh my.
I'm sorry about that. Yeah, I forgot to mention that. Yeah, it's you can get it like different sizes, like hairiness. You can actually have like. I'm sorry about that. Anyways, well, you maybe what you can do is you can give us an unboxing video for the A&G faithful. That'd be really nice. Um, one thing I did throw in some A&G urinal cakes, right? Obviously that we made, right? And these are ones I made. They had Quinn Hughes' face on them because he's my favorite Canuck, right? But I had to change them, right? So, what I did is instead I kept the Canucks logo, but I put Patrick Alvin and Jim Rutherford's face right on those urinal cakes. So, problem solved, right? And I didn't get you the warranty either, Nate. So I'm sorry about that. But hopefully, use it in good health. All right. I love you, buddy, and Merry Christmas to you. But buddy, we got to talk about the best teams to stream. All right, we got some bits and pieces here. Okay, we got some nice pieces. Anyways, the New York Rangers, we talked about it already. 5 games, 1 off night. I think I'm very interested in the New York Rangers. I think volume is going to be key this week. Right, they play 3 games in the first 4 nights, then they have a back-to-back Saturday, Sunday. So you might be able to get him in for 4 games, maybe, right? Depending on if it works for your team. But we're looking at, I think Alexis Lafreniere is going to be your main guy that you should be targeting. Will Cooley is probably rostered, but if he isn't, he should be rostered even on power play 2, I think. But talk to me about what you think Lafreniere can do in this 5-game week now that he's on power play 1.
Yeah, I don't really trust it to continue is the is the biggest problem I have. But it's worth noting that like Cooley in the last game anyway was on the third line, which got significantly less ice time. It was Connor Sheary up with JT Miller and Vincent Trocheck. So I mean,
Powerhouse
Connor
line.
in deeper leagues, Connor Sheary is definitely going to be rostered just because of that for the upcoming week. So yeah, I think there's. It's worth noting that Lafreniere is definitely the top option this week as of now. Of course, all of these lines have changed around quite a bit this year under Mike Sullivan from game to game, from week to week. So keep your ear to the ground on all that. But at the moment, the way that the lines are shaking out right now, with the power play, Lafreniere, then Cooley, and then Sheary for me.
Beautiful. Yeah. I think, if you got a league with like block weighting and stuff like that, you can throw Gavrikov in there, right?
Yep.
Like this guy's playing a bunch of minutes. He's getting the odd point and the periffs are decent. So definitely put him on your list as well. I think if you're going to go volume, obviously you're going Rangers. And I think these guys can chip away and get you some points. So let's move on to the next tier of teams here. Florida and Winnipeg. They both have 4 games with 3 off nights. Florida plays so Winnipeg plays Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, and that Sunday is a 9-gamer. So could be a perfect schedule for you if you can get them in there. So I think that there's some really good options there. And Florida plays Monday, Wednesday, Friday, like Nate said, and then they play the busy Saturday, so you can move off of your Florida play if you need to there. Let's talk about Florida first. It's worth noting Aaron Ekblad, 51% rostered on Yahoo. If he's out there, I mean, you got to have him, right? I mean, it's not sexy, right? But he can do stuff. He's a defenseman that plays in the NHL for a good team, right? But we also got Gus Forsling as well. So I think there's some reasonable D options. But what's your take on, first off, we'll talk about those defensemen, and then I want to hear your take on these forwards, Anton Lundell, Evan Rodriguez, Eetu Luostarinen, and Luorston. I've had the pronunciation guide up. Dang it. And Maki Stamkevich. Talk to me about the D, and then talk to me about the forwards. How are you ranking them?
Yeah, I think I would take Forsling over Ekblad. Ekblad's had just a terrible season. He shoots a little bit more than Forsling, but not enough to the point where I would take Ekblad straight up at this point. Yeah, those are both streamable defensemen, but not much more in my opinion. On the forward side, I really like Anton Lundell. He's shooting more, he's hitting more. Things are just going better for him this season. Obviously, much bigger role and shoes to fill with Barkov out of the lineup than he's been used to. He did have some run last year when Barkov was out of the lineup, but that was obviously with an expiration date. This year, it's basically all season long, and he's honestly killing it. He's on a 63-point pace and getting 19 minutes a night on the season. I don't see any reason that should not continue this week. Evan Rodriguez has 3 points in his last 5, but the underlying numbers look pretty terrible. You can take that swing, but I'd rather have Ryan, to be honest with you. 32nd in individual scoring chances, 4 per 60 over the last 4 games here in about 17 minutes average time on ice. Don't mind that. Mackie Samoskevich playing down the lineup, mostly just over 14 minutes average time on ice, but 25th in shots per 60 and individual expected goals for per 60. Still an effective player in his limited minutes.
Yep. Yeah, I like all that. And Nate's very invested into Anton Lundell this year, folks. All right. He's holding him till the wheels fall off. He doesn't care if he plays fourth line. He doesn't care if they put Anton Lundell on defense. All right. He's into it. But he is pacing for over 60 points. I like that. So that's excellent. All right. Let's talk about the Jets. Nathan and the Jets. Cole Perfetti, Mum Spaghetti, and I was going to call him Ned Niederreiter. His name's Nino. Nino Niederreiter, I think, are your guys there. Also, I think we should throw Alex Iafallo on there. Iafallo right now is getting line 1 and power play 1, if I'm not mistaken, which is a choice, right, over Cole Perfetti. I don't know what's going on there, but talk to me about these Jets. Any interest here with, kind of all these other options that are available on other teams?
I mean, Cole Perfetti has not figured it out this year, which is tough to deal with. It's it's a tough spot. Is a good shout being on the top line. I think it's still Perfetti on the top power play unit. I think he did come off it, but I think he's back
Yeah,
on
last
it
game.
in the last game. So yeah, Perfetti's still on top power play. They are trying to move the lines around, so Perfetti did actually play alongside Gabriel Velarde in the last game, which should obviously just be a little bit more of an offensive-minded player for him to play with, which should be okay. That being said, Perfetti himself has not really done a whole hell of a lot this year under the hood, on the ice, anywhere that you would look for fantasy relevance. And he's not getting minutes either, just over 14 minutes average time on ice. His underlines are pretty terrible. It's not a great spot. Niederreiter's underlying numbers are even worse, in like the 300s in terms of ranks across the league, 13 minutes a night, which probably means that he's going to absolutely pop off next week for like 8 points in the 4 games here, because that's what Niederreiter does. He goes from absolutely frozen over ice cold to absolutely scalding hot for like 3 games and then disappears again for another month of hibernation. So that's always an option there with Niederreiter. And yeah, you can throw Iafallo in there. I don't know how long that deployment is going to last, but if it lasts for another game here over the weekend, then maybe you're starting to think about it.
Yeah. There you go. I don't know. The Jets without Hellebuck, man, it's not an inspiring fantasy team. That's for sure. Like, power play's still decent, but they're doing weird stuff there, like we said. So I don't know. I'm just happy I got Mark Scheifele. Scheifele has been pretty damn good this year. And Gabe Velarde has been putting up some reasonable points, even though they're moving him down the lineup. So I don't know. Shout out to the Jets. Let's move on to the next group of teams here. We got 5 teams that play 4 games with 2 off nights. They are the Anaheim Ducks, Dallas Stars, Nashville Predators, St. Louis Blues, and the Utah Mammoth. Let's start in Anaheim. Our favorite team to stream from. Is still some bits and pieces out there. Beckett Seneca, is he available out there on your wire? Because if he is, he probably shouldn't be. This guy's he's doing really well for a rookie. I know you've said in the past, like, rookies are pretty volatile, and I agree with you there. But in a week like this, Beckett Seneca, I think, is really solid. You got Chris Kreider, Mikhail Granlund, Granny. You got a beefer option in Frank Vetrano, and then a couple defensemen in Radko Gudas and Olin Zellweger. How are you ranking these Ducks here?
Yeah, I think you can go with Kreider or Seneca. Probably go with Seneca right now, but Kreider's underlying
Seneca.
numbers. Seneca, is that right?
I looked it up.
Okay, Seneca. We're going with that final answer. Lock it in. Seneca's numbers are really good, and Kreider's are like insane. 5th in individual expected goals for per 60 over the last 5 games,
Yep.
and more ice time than Seneca. It's just the goals and assists have been happening for Seneca and not for Kreider. I think that there's a pretty good chance that just completely flips next week, and it's actually Chris Kreider who you should have rather than Seneca.
Yep.
I feel pretty good about either option. They're 1A, 1B for sure in terms of streams from Anaheim, and I would not be mad at either of them. Granlund is kind of a swing at this point. He's not really done a whole lot in the last little bit. since his return from injury. Still getting 18 minutes a night, though, so that part's definitely there. But Toronto continues to shoot a lot and hit a lot and get less than 13 minutes average time on ice, so, which makes him pretty irrelevant in anything other than a Bangers Cats. Rago Gudis, I'm sure, is rostered in Bangers Cats, so that's pretty much the only spot you're actually going to look at him. Olin Zellweger does have 3 assists in his last 5, just over 17 minutes a night. His underlying numbers are terrific, as they pretty much always are, but it's going to be tough to view him as anything more than a streamer for sure. For this week, though, if you got an open spot, if you need to find somebody to get you 4 games, you can definitely do worse.
Yep, for sure. And I do want to shout out really quick. Just in the last game, the Ducks didn't have too much power play time, but Frank Vetrano was playing with the Mason McTavish, Cutter Gauthier, and Beckett Seneca as the number 1 power play, which wasn't really the number 1. I think the top line was probably, just out or something like that. But Granlund has spent some time on power play 1. He didn't last game. So just something to watch. If you are going to go with the Ducks, there's a couple options that maybe you could sneak one in, but you're going to have to keep an eye on the, game day lines. All right. So check that out. Shout out to Keeping Carlson there. Let's move on to the Dallas Stars. Guy, we've had some questions on here, Nate. Matt Duchene, coming back from, pretty significant concussion. What's your overall outlook on Duchene rest of season here? And also I will add with the news that Rupe Hintz, which we didn't mention in Newsies, but he had a foot injury or something last game, and we haven't heard anything yet. So I'm wondering if Hintz misses time, maybe talk about Duchene with Hintz in the lineup and Duchene without Hintz in the lineup.
Yeah, I think both spots, there's a pretty good chance that Duchesne gets more deployment with Hintz out of the lineup, obviously. Could see top power play. That would obviously be tremendous for his
Yeah.
potential to put up some points. So definitely keep your ear to the ground there. I think Duchesne is rostered in most serious leagues, but 52% on Yahoo at the moment, so might be out there. Jamie Benn's really the only other guy of note here, and you can argue whether he's of note, but he was playing on the Hintz Robertson line, so we'll want to see what that looks like in the next game for sure before making any calls on whether you're actually going to take a ride with Jamie Benn for a full week.
Don't take a ride with Jamie Benn. All right. Jamie Benn pulls up in a car. He says, "Hey, get in." He's got the slick back hair. He's got the goatee. You're like, "No, thank you, sir. All right. I'll see you next time." He's like, "What? I got candy." You're like, "No. All right. I don't want that." All right. Where's Matt Duchene? Was that Duchene? I'll get in a car with Duchene, but not Jamie Benn. All right. Book that. Let's move over to the Nashville Predators. We had a Steven Stamkos sighting, not just a sighting, an explosion. Dang. He got 4 goals the other night, and the underlying metrics were really good as well. Just in that one game, it was a pop-off game. It wasn't like he just fluked into 4 goals. He was all over the net. He was, I think he had 9 shots or something like that. So it's a really nice game for Steven Stamkos. The problem is, what about all the other games? You know what I mean? That Stamkos has played. So, but yeah, Stamkos for Nashville. Ryan O'Reilly, who's power play 1. He's playing with Forsberg still. We got Johnny Marchessault. We got Luke Evangelista, who's a player I'm still interested in. And he's starting to put some points on the board, which is really nice to see. And then Nick Blankenberg, a player, I spoke about with Louis Boulet in our Friday show that was released here yesterday. So definitely check that out if you're interested in some underlying metrics there. But talk to me about the Preds. Do you think they've turned a corner? And if so, are you interested in any of these boys?
I think they may have turned a corner. Obviously, we're going to need to see more of that for us to conclusively say that. But I think that sometimes, a team just needs some things to go right for them. And definitely things have gone right for them over the last few games here, especially for Steven Stamkos, second in
Yeah.
individual expected goals for per 60 over the last 5 games. Obviously, a lot of that coming in that single game. It was against St. Louis, so, take that for what it's worth. A few different teams have done similar things to St. Louis this year, so
You'll love
might
to see
not
it.
be the feather in the cap that it might have been against some other teams, but still a tremendous night for Stamkos overall. I really like Luke Evangelista. I think he is possibly the second, maybe third best forward on this team right now and flying under the radar a lot. We'll have more on him later. Really like Evangelista. Really like O'Reilly. He's got 5 points in his last 5 games, 19 and a half minutes average time on ice. Underlying numbers are never going to look terrific with O'Reilly, but he's going to put up some points. And I think he's a terrific streamer. He's exactly the kind of guy you want to pick up as your streamer in a week like this. Jonathan Marchessault, you can take that ride, but it's been a tough go for him all year long. You're really just hoping for a couple of goals on the week, and maybe he gets you there, maybe he doesn't, but you're just kind of praying for that one.
Yep.
Blankenberg, I wish he was getting more minutes. I really do think there could be something here, but without the minutes, it's like it feels like a worse version of Zellweger to me. I know Blankenberg has gotten more points so far, but the underlying numbers suggest that that might not be the case moving forward.
Yep. Makes total sense to me. I like the player and I'm watching him, but yeah, I think in a deep league, yeah, Nick Blankenberg could be a great add in a 14 or a 16 teamer. I think for sure. Like this guy's doing a lot with very little. I consider him like a lesser version of Brant Clark. That's kind of the comparison that we ended up with, the other day there with Louis. And yeah, there's something to that, I think. So anyways, I like some of these Nashville guys. It's weird to say. Let's talk about St. Louis. All right. The team that Nashville just pummeled into the ground. All right. Catching strays on the fantasy Apples and Ginos fantasy hockey podcast here. We got that late night beauty, Cam Fowler. Is he out there? Oh my God. This is exactly what Cam Fowler is for. All right. You ran out of options. You didn't get up at 3 a.m. All right. You get up. It's 12 o'clock p.m. You look at the waivers and there's Cam Fowler. You're like, you know what, buddy? Get on my team. All right. Thank you for your service, my man. I don't know, but he's out there. Pavel Buchnevich, Jake Neighbors, Braden Shen, the Bedard, combatant there, just took the guy out of the play. And Philip Broberg as well. Talk to me about the Blues. Any interest in some of these guys? This has been a really frustrating team this year.
It definitely has. Buchnevich is kind of hot at the moment. 5 points in his last
So hot.
five. Over 18 and a half. I don't know. Based on the headshot, I don't know if we can
Yeah, no,
definitively make that
you're right
proclamation.
about that. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm sure
Or
he's a nice
strays.
person.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why I felt that was necessary, but here we are. Cam Fowler does have some good on ice stuff, but it's been a rough year. I think he got all his scoring out last year with St. Louis and refuses to do any of that kind of thing this year. Underlying numbers are best for Jake Neighbors, actually. 34th in individual expected goals for per 60 in the last 5 games, so I don't mind that look if you need it. He's been getting some nice deployment on the top line with Thomas and Buchnevich as well, so definitely a player that you could take a look at if he continues to play there. Braden Shen has some points, but the minutes are down and the underlying numbers look truly horrific, so I'm not really that into that one. Philip Broberg's been shooting a little bit more and skating over 23 minutes a night, so I just wanted to mention him here. It's a really deep league cut for sure, but I did pick up Broberg for the St. Louis little back-to-back here, and I think he could do the same in a week like next week.
Broberg over Fowler. That's a choice, Nate. What do you do? The guy's good to go. All right. He's happy to be here. I don't know. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, I should also shout out Jordan Binnington. At 5-on-5, the St. Louis Blues are dead last in the league in goaltending, and that's going to be our goalie for Team Canada here in the Olympics. So I'm really, really excited about that. Jordan Binnington, welcome to the squad. Let's talk about the Utah Mammoth, and then let's move on. But yeah, we got some options here as well with Utah. They play back-to-back Tuesday, Wednesday. Then they end the week. Actually, they end the week really strong Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. So you might be able to get Utah in for all 4 games if you can get that Tuesday in. And if you do, you're going to get some amazing streamers, namely Jack McBain. Let's get silly. Lawson Krause, B for de jure. Ian Cole, Y. Sean Dursey, oh, okay, maybe. And then Barrett Hayton. I am low-key into Barrett Hayton. For this upcoming week. I mean, again, like 14 teamer. Yeah, Barrett Hayton. I'm loving life if I get him.
I find it hard to maintain optimism for Barrett Hayton. The guy scored 5 points on the
No.
year. He did have that random 8-shot game there, which was kind of crazy, but it really does seem like he's starting to fall out of favor there at the moment. He was playing with Krause and Gunther on a line in the last game here against Kraken, so that maybe is something that'll keep going moving forward, but I don't know how excited I can get
Positive
about
spin.
Barrett Hayton. Jack McBain, Lawson Krause. Even Dersey and Cole, these are mostly banger guys.
Banger guys. All right. Well, yeah, I just poo-pooed all my Utah Mammoth there. That's fine. I guess I'm not interested. I mean, I just do what Nate says, really. It's kind of how I, get success in fantasy hockey. I just follow what Nate does. And man, it's worked out pretty good for me this year. Anyways, so let's talk about some teams. We're not going to go into any more players here, but I am just going to go quickly through the schedule. There are a couple teams that play 3 games with 2 off nights: Carolina, LA Kings, and New Jersey. Carolina plays Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. So, get them in for the Wednesday, Friday. That's nice. LA plays Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. So maybe you can get 3 from an LA player and then move to a Friday, Sunday team. That's not a bad play. New Jersey Devils play Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, the 9-game Sunday. So you could get 3 games in for your Devils. Maybe play a back-to-back Monday, Tuesday, and jump into a Devils team. I don't even want to talk about these other teams. Nate, you want to roll on, or do you want me to talk about these teams? What are you doing?
Let's roll on with the Patreon plug.
Yeah.
$2 Canadian per month gets you access to the Apples and Ginos Patron League waitlist. We've found some more inactive managers and moved some people from the waitlist on
How
there.
dare
So
you?
definitely get yourself on that list. Apple's tier, $8 a month, APL eligibility, also access to patron-only Discord channels and live shows. We'll have another one coming out here in December, so stay tuned for that. Show notes, including these show notes for the Waiver Wire show here, gives you that list of ad targets to look for in your leagues. Apples and Ginos player evaluation tool. Let's move over into the Dream Streams. This is basically where I just try to rank players based on the number of off nights they have and not much else, because everybody's league is going to be different. You're going to have to look at your own lineups and figure out if you got room on that Tuesday, 10-game Tuesday, or the 10-game Thursday, or maybe both in a best case scenario. So you're going to have to check that out for yourself. But going strictly off the off nights, number 1 for me is going to be Anton Lindell. I do think Lindell is in a prime position to have another nice week here. Obviously, Florida has a great schedule, as we've alluded to. You can also go, if you have a lot of open spots on the heavier nights, the 10-game nights, then definitely take a look at Lafreniere, take a look at Cooley, maybe even in a deeper league, take a look at Sheary, get those. You're probably not going to get all 5 games with the heavy Saturday, but you might be able to get 4 games, and that might be well worth it for you. So if you can definitely look that route, but assuming that you're gonna have to go for the off nights, Lindell would be number 1. I think you got to go Stamkos next, just to see if he can. I mean, we know how skilled a shooter this guy is. Who's to say he can't get hot and stay hot for another week here? So definitely Stamkos, Kreider, Seneca, O'Reilly, Evangelista. That's a really nice tier here for me. I did have Perfetti below these guys, even though Perfetti's schedule is better and he's going to give you an extra off night there. That's just kind of indicative of how tough I'm finding it to roster Cole Perfetti. And it's not just me. There's definitely Cole Perfetti on waiver wires in a lot of places. A2 Lossarainen from Florida, mostly for that great schedule that they have this week. And rounding it out with Pavel Buchnevich and Jackson Blake. Anything to add here, Mr. Creamer?
No, I love it. I think I like Beckett Seneca better than Kreider. I'm doing it. I mean, the metrics say Kreider, but I want to stay on the fire with Beckett.
All right. Best for hits, obviously Radko Gudas. If you can get him, Jack McBain, he definitely does that. If you got to go for more off nights, then go for Adam Lowry, 2.7 hits per game in his last 30 days here. So that's a nice number. Morgan Barron does that. Dylan DeMello does that. Over on Florida, you got guys like Mackie Samoskevich, AJ Greer, Nico Mikala who do that. On the block side, Colton Parayko, Ace Lindell, Philip Broberg do that. If you have to get into the more off nights, then Dylan Sandberg, Gustav Forsling, Jeff Petrie, Dylan DeMello are all options there. Let's move along to Hold Me, which is where we talk about players that we'd really like to hold. I say that every single week, but the number 1 player that we've been talking about for a long time is Patrick Kane, and I have absolutely
No
no
one's
interest
listening,
in
Nate.
that. Yeah, so it's kind of a misnomer, I guess, at this point, just based on Patrick Kane still hanging out here. Hopefully,
Right.
he graduates the program here shortly, and we don't have to reference holding Patrick Kane anymore. Graduated, Tristan Jarry up to 64% makes sense with the situation there. Darren Radish, obviously, above 50% as well, up to 63%. Kane is still number 1. unbelievable that he's still out there. What does this guy have to do to get some respect around here in terms of fantasies on a 75-point pace and still only rostered in 49% of fantasy leagues? Gabriel Landeskog, Adam Fantilli, Steven Stamkos. Like, this is going to be last call on these guys. They're going to be over 50% next year, or next week. Definitely next year too, but
Well, we'll
next
see.
week for sure. So it feels like last call on those guys. I would throw Anton Lundell into this mix. I still like William Eklund here on the season. I think he'll be in this kind of range, this 60 to 65 point range that I see Lundell in as well. So I like that one there. Chris Kreider fits in here as well. Elias Lindholm, the IR boys, Zuccarello, McCann, Ryan Leonard, I'm still holding a candle for. It really felt like he was about
Yeah.
to just absolutely detonate. And then the infamous Truba hit and takes him out. So that feels bad, but definitely a guy that I don't want anyone listening to Apples and Ginos to forget about when he does come back. Beckett Seneca as well fits into this category. Ryan O'Reilly. I threw Marco Rossi on here because I am interested to see what it looks like. There's a chance that he walks into Vancouver and they hand him the keys with 20 minutes a night. It wouldn't be the most shocking thing there, so something to watch there. Luke Evangelista, I got on the list. Matt Coronado, Brock Besser, Dmitry Voronkov, Frank Nazar, Jordan Eberle, Josh Doan. Anything you'd like to reorder or change about the list, Blake?
No, I like that. Thank you for talking about Ryan Leonard there. Have you ever eaten a radish with just some salt on it? You ever do that?
I've never done that.
Yeah, because we're not psychos. What the hell is a radish? I mean, why? Who saw a radish, pulled it out, and they're like, "Let me get this in." They tasted it. They're like, "Let's have some more." Who puts radish on a salad? I don't know. Hit us up in the comments, folks.
All right, sub 20% rostered. Ryan Leonard, obviously, there as well. Luke Evangelista, Matt Coronado, Boone Jenner, based on the new deployment. If that sticks around for any time, then definitely you're going to want some Boone Jenner in your life. Connor McMichael has been running on the Ovechkin Strome line the last little bit, so that's of interest. Connor Garland. Andre Burakovsky, I wrote that before Bedard went out with injury, so definitely if Bedard is going to miss some time, then Burakovsky becomes wildly less interesting. Sub 10% rostered, so Luke Evangelista is 6% rostered on Yahoo right now. This is absolutely criminal behavior and criminal disrespecting of a terrific hockey player on a 65-point pace on the season. This guy has more points than Elias Pettersson, Thomas Hertel, Kevin Fiala, Austin Matthews, Philip Forsberg on his own team, Adam Fantilli. I don't know what he's got to do to get some more respect, but Luke Evangelista is a terrific player that is widely disrespected at the moment, and I won't stand for it, Blake.
That's good. That's right.
Ryan Hartman, I'm interested to see with Rossi out of the picture, will Hartman get more and more looks in the top six? So that's one to watch as well. Obviously, Tarasenko's in this list as well. Zach Benson, Jackson Blake, Arseny Griciuk. I really felt like Griciuk might be looking to take a step before this illness here. With Meyer out of the lineup, was he going to get even more deployment and actually have like a breakthrough moment? Well, that might translate him into more ice time rest of season. It's tough to see him out this weekend, but I am really high on that player long term. Braden Bowman as well, still playing on the Eichel line. Have to have him on any kind of list here. Over on defense, we've got Artyom Levshunov, Matthias Ekholm, Zeev Buium. I think you want to take a look, just see what's going on there in Vancouver. If we're right about the big-time deployment right off the top in Vancouver, I do think he's got some offensive talent, and things could start to click for him. It wouldn't be too crazy to see that happen. Shimon Nemec, Travis Sanheim, Brent Burns, Olin Zellweger, Dmitry Orlov, Bowen Byram, Chris Letang, Brant Clark. I would love to put Brant Clark higher. I just have no confidence in Jim Hiller. The day that Jim Hiller gets fired is the day that Brant Clark moves to the top of this list for me. Sub 20% rostered, John Klingberg. I have taken Klingberg off and on this list more times this season already than I can count. I feel like it's an every other week occurrence where I'm either removing him or putting him back on this list. He's on the top power play. I can't expect it to stick around, but 4% rostered. If you can fit him in for a stream or something like that and just see where it goes, not the worst option. Nick Blankenberg and Sam Malinsky I want to add in here. I want to shout out Sam Malinsky. I think he's terrific at what he does there in Colorado. They don't need him to play more minutes, which is really the only thing holding him back from being a potential 40-point defenseman in my eyes. Over at the netminder position, We've got Dan Vladar still under 50% rostered, which is just insane to me based on what he's done so far this year. Jed Greaves, I really do think Greaves has taken over that net there in Columbus at this point, and they're ready to kind of hand it to him. Merzlikins just bombs every single time
Yeah,
he's in the net
he's not
now, it
helping
feels
himself.
like. John Gibson, I also think, is kind of taken over the net there in Detroit, and that's something to watch for. He's definitely outplayed Talbot in the last week or so, so something to keep an eye on. Brandon Bussey as well, 38%. You got the Vegas tandem, both under 50%. Sub 25% rostered, got a shout out Jacob Fowler. The Montreal tandem between Montembeault and Dobish has been so bad that it wouldn't be shocking if Fowler just became their goaltender for the rest of the year at this point. And Joel Hofer, I mean, I know they're gonna have some loyalty to Bennington, but they gotta win games. Like
Yeah.
Montgomery's gonna get himself fired if they can't win games, and Joel Hofer is the only guy winning games for St. Louis at the moment. So, something to monitor there. Hofer's 13% rostered at the moment, mostly due to this latest start that he grabbed. All right, Blake. If you've got nothing to add there, then I say we talk about the head-to-head streamer deathmatch.
I don't want to.
I know you don't want to, but it's a nice week for me, and I mean it's a nice week for me in that I don't have to stress over it. It's pretty in the bag.
You got lucky, son. All right.
You took the Zucchini Man, Matt Zuccarello, and he got injured. I took Jordan Eberle, and
Detonated.
he's gotten a few points here for me. So I'm gonna coast this one to the finish line and enjoy my winnings. For the upcoming week, I am going to take Alexis Lafreniere because I do have the first pick and I can do that and get that fifth game played on the week. Who are you going to go with, sir?
Just hurtful. Just so hurtful. So smug. So insufferable. Oh God. I'm gonna take Ben Kindle. All right. From Kindle. I lost the pronunciation guide again. But yeah, he's getting some good run there in Pittsburgh. Power play 1, line 3, but that line is actually pretty good at 5-on-5 as well. He's shooting the lights out. I'll take a ride.
I think it's actually all pronounced together. I think it's Ben Kindle.
Ben Kindle. Yeah, you just yell it you really emphasize the Ben. Ben
Yeah,
Kindle. Like that.
yeah,
And then he comes running.
exactly.
Yeah, I don't know what's
I'm
going
all right. Well, maybe we better wrap it up. Tell the people about the Discord community, 2,000 plus fantasy managers in
we
there
do that.
talking about fantasy hockey, exploding this evening over the Quinn Hughes trade. If you wouldn't mind, like, rate, review, subscribe, comment, all that stuff really does help us out and get this channel out to more people. But that is going to be all that we've got for this episode. Hopefully, it brought you some value, helped you get a little bit better at fantasy hockey today. All the advanced stats you heard today came from Natural Stat Trick and 18 Skaters. Many thanks to Matt Creamer for supplying the music for the podcast. That's it, folks. Much love.